Hello viewers, today we're going to look at something that I'm guessing is going to be a waste of time. We've got the sandwich maker here, which we've got the nice copper cable, but there's a lot of plastic around the outside and then coated steel, I'm guessing on the inside. It is magnetic a little bit, so for me, I'm guessing the best thing is going to have been cut that cable off, throw the rest into light steel, but let's give it away and let's see if I'm wrong. So we're getting the whole thing all up is about 1.35 kilos, or just under 3 pound. So we'll get stuck in and see what we have at the end. I'm guessing that there's going to be a thermostat in here, so it's probably a board, but I doubt that there's going to be anything fancy on there. That, and I think most people probably aren't really dealing in boards. So there's our connector for the incoming cable. Normally I just snip these off, but it wouldn't be much of a breakdown if I did that, would it? Okay, so we've got our cable off. And we might be lucky for that not to be plastic, but I'm fairly certain I'm going to be finding out that it is. Nah, that's the way that's breaking. That's definitely going to be plastic. Let's take some of these off and see if there can be some magic, or whether our first guess is right. The other downside to this is it currently smells like greasy cheese and burnt electronics. So not exactly my favourite smelling scrap that I've ever done. See, that's plastic as well. Getting quite a collection of useless stuff. Burnt cheese. Alright, so here we've got the lights there. So that in itself is looking plastic. Yep, that is a plastic. It looks like they just insulated it with cardboard. Yep, just about resin coated cardboard. A little bit of heat protection. There's a couple of cables in here, but not something that I would normally think would be worth going to the efforts of taking apart, considering for some of you won't be able to get rid of the plastic once you take it apart, yet your scrapyard will probably take the plastic if it's as a whole piece of equipment. So I've got a heating element there, which, of course we knew we were going to get that, but whether it ends up being worth it is another thing to be seen altogether. I really am not liking the chances of this having been worth taking apart. More plastic. I think all we're going to do is lower that's all plastic and cheese. So there you go. In your sandwich maker you probably get just as much cheese on the inside as the out. Although that probably also has something to do with why it broke in the first place. Alright, so it's a pretty simple tear down. Just cut those to pull them through. Basically identical on both sides. I'm going to snip that because it's steel there anyway. So we'll take a look at these clips. So basically all the clips, screws, etc. are all steel. Alright, so I'm guessing our thermostat must be here. So there's basically no boards whatsoever in this. Very, very little cabling. Whoa, tiny, tiny bit of stuff that isn't steel. We'll have a look at it in a minute. And yeah, we've got the element. So I'll rip the element off. And I decided that there was really little point in watching me wrestling with the element for a little while, so sped that up just a touch so that you didn't have to be quite so bored. But anyway, just about done now, so let's go back to some real time. Okay, so just before we weigh things up, I was thinking these were going to be either a stainless or a steel, because that initial magnet first sort of felt on here, but I have a feeling that I was only sticking to the element, because on the back here we actually have AL recyclable, and yeah, I did the scratch test and it scratches very easily, which I did before I saw the AL. So we've actually got 2 plates of aluminium, which means as much as I would normally probably think about throwing these in with a light steel pile, there is actually almost no light steel in it at all. But anyway, we'll go and have a look at some figures. So now that everything's apart and weighed, let's take a look and see what our findings are. So when we first weighed it, the initial weight on the sandwich maker was 1.35 kilos, or just under 3 pounds. Now, as we guessed, the main material in there was plastic, being 800 grams worth, or 1 3/4 pound. Interestingly though, what I initially thought might have been stainless steel due to that little bit of magnetism was actually moulded aluminium with the steel heating element attached to the back. So moulded aluminium, 300 grams worth, just over half a pound, actually makes it like it could be worth taking apart if you've got the time and don't have a lot of other stuff to be doing. Light steel actually surprised me. There was only 200 grams of light steel, or just under half a pound of light steel in the entire thing. So for something that I would have previously considered just throwing in the light steel pile, and may still consider it depending on workload, there's hardly actually any light steel in it at all. And the other two things that were in there, about 50 grams or 0.1 of a pound of insulated wire, and a tiny bit of bronze. Basically, the cable you saw me pulling out there, on about half of the ends, there was a tiny little bronze clip that I had to cut off, mostly where it attached to another diode or resistor. So if you were only collecting sandwich makers and wanted to get a lot of bronze, probably going to take you quite some time. So at the end of the day, should you scrap it, should you not scrap it? It's a fairly tricky one, because there's a little bit of aluminium in there, not much else worthwhile. If you can scrap them quickly, go for the aluminium. If your tools are taking you forever, if you're not quite getting there in a hurry, probably still throw it for light steel and keep that cable. Anyway, there's the breakdown on a sandwich maker. Happy scrapping.